Um, I feel fear about this conversation because this is such like a high stress topic.
Absolutely.
Honestly, and people want to die on a bunch of these hills.
What's up, everybody? I'm Brian.
And I'm Sonia.
And we are
the Niras.
Okay, this is a juicy subject that we're getting ready to talk about. We are going to discuss our first fight in marriage.
No, it wasn't. We weren't married.
Yeah, we were married.
No, we were not. We were dating. Remember, because you reached out.
It wasn't a fight in dating.
Oh, I don't want to talk about that.
You don't want to talk. You don't want to talk about that. Well, we have to now.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh
so
my lord.
Our first fight was about politics.
Let's not get explicit though.
Well, Sonia and I, this is the thing about politics. Like, a lot of political ideology is created through the way that you're raised. And the fact of the matter is, I think it's very important to know that, like, everybody is raised differently.
Mm-hmm.
Even Christians are raised differently, like with different set of values. And usually values drive your political ideology.
Yeah, and too, just because you're Christian doesn't mean that you're like monolithic.
Exactly. Hello,
Hi, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, you gotta go back to class, okay? I love you. You wanna give Mama hugs?
Give me kisses.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You gotta go to Miss Stacy. Okay.
Come here, Mom.
Go to Miss
Look
Stacy.
at his pants. His little butt is sticking out.
Oh, it doesn't have a diaper on?
That was his little cheek was
Oh,
sticking out.
Lord. Hey, be careful. You didn't bring out your pants.
Ooh, what was on his face?
But political ideologies are often created through the way that you're raised and your upbringing, and just because and even Christians, this is the fact of the matter. There's room for, and this may be very controversial for some people, but it's the truth. There's room for a Christian to be a Democrat, and there's room for a Christian to be a Republican, and there's room for a Christian to be a libertarian, and everything in between. And so, just because and for both of us, we don't really identify with any of the parties. That's what we've come to the conclusion of.
Yep.
Our highest value when it comes to politics is scripture.
Yeah, and we don't it's okay if you do.
Yeah.
It really is okay if you do. I feel fear about this conversation because this is such a high stress topic.
Absolutely.
Honestly, and people want to die on a bunch of these hills, right?
Yes.
And I want to respect that for real. I really do.
Without a doubt.
And I live my life wanting to genuinely respect and honor people who have different opinions than me.
That's exactly
We do not prescribe to, the persecution of different political views, because I just think that is an assault on democracy, and I think it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And the only reason why this was a fight amongst us is because I did not want to raise our kids with I didn't want to be in disunity with my husband.
Lack of unity. Yes. Exactly.
I wanted to be unified in hey, what are we going to say to our kids when they ask us this? That was the biggest thing of I just want to make sure that we're unified.
Yeah.
I was fighting from a place of I just want to be unified.
Exactly.
And we don't have to agree, but I want to be in unity.
Yeah.
And I've definitely matured
we both
lot.
Matured.
I've matured a lot even since that first disgruntlement, because we don't fight about anything. Well, we do kind of now.
Baby, it was a fight.
No. I was just gonna say. No. I was gonna say, we don't really fight about at that point we didn't ever fight about anything else.
No.
There was nothing else in our life that we'd ever had a disagreement about.
Yeah.
But I think our first fight, and this was probably 2 years in of us being together.
Married?
No, in general, not married.
Yeah. Okay, married, just in general. Yeah.
In general, it was 2 years. We didn't have a single fight.
It was first month of marriage.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff going on at that time.
There was.
And it was also, we were very fragile.
Yeah, we were very, very, very.
We were very fragile. And
Can
for
I
me,
make a note though, real quick? I just want to make a note about fighting. This is the thing. Fighting is bad when you're not able to ultimately fight with one another and you're fighting against each other.
Yeah.
One thing that Sonia and I realized within this process is that, you know what? Actually, it's okay that we are having a disagreement about this. But what we're going to implore is that in the disagreement, in the fight, we're staying on the same team.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, I'm not going to allow you to not be on my team as a result of this disagreement because I don't care enough about this disagreement to try to ruin our relationship.
Yeah.
So there's no disagreement that we could ever get in that would that's going to take me off of Sonia's team.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know the irony of it all is that we have the exact same values.
Yes, we do.
We have the exact same values. And so, you know, really we just needed to work on our communication.
That's right.
And being able to like communicate healthy through like very passionate conversations.
100%.
Because I don't really, and this is what I would tell Brian in these arguments, like, I don't need anybody else to agree with me except for my spouse.
Yeah.
Because we are building a family culture. Yeah. And it's like really confusing if like I have this, you know, we're going to lead our kids in this way and then, you know, you're leading our kids this way. And it wasn't about a party. It was about like literally like where do we stand on these issues?
Exactly. And this is the thing about where do we stand on an issue, because we can both value the same things, but where we stand on one thing or another could be different.
Yeah.
And so like that's how it was.
And honestly,
for us.
There's a lot of irony in like political disgruntlement. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, like I think a lot of people agree on a lot of things. Like we want our kids to get good education. I would say most parties agree with that.
Yeah.
Right? The strategy in which we get there,
100%.
That's when you have a delineation of affiliation.
Yeah.
Right? But it's like, why are we so mad? We all want our kids to have good education. And I actually believe that it could come about in multiple ways.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like in a business, you could all have a common goal and then have different strategies of the way to get there. And that's where the parties come into play of like, this is how we believe we should get to this point. Yeah. And so I think that we actually, in general, people have a lot more in common than we have uncommon.
Yeah.
In my personal opinion, obviously there's some things that are they're completely in disagreement on, and that's okay. But for us, it was like, we actually completely agree on this.
Yeah.
Like the end goal, we are completely in agreement. And honestly, we just had an election. I didn't even ask Brian who he voted for. He didn't ask me who I voted for. I honestly likely that we probably voted for the same person.
Are you talking about the midterm?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about something. It's okay. I was just wondering.
And it doesn't matter.
You're exactly right.
And at the end of the day, like it literally does not matter. Yeah. Like it does not matter.
Because we've grown so much. Can we for a moment get back to the fight though? Talk about.
Oh sure. I know, but that was the fight though. That was the fight. The fight was.
I want to identify with some people though who have been in the heat of it and who have felt the emotions of the fight. And like one of the things Sonia said that was so powerful was that like we were not communicating well. And that's what essentially stoked the fire of the fight. And so like in this like political, like there was a lot of political stuff going on in the world. And, you know, we began to watch a lot of news.
Oh, it's terrible.
We were watching.
Don't watch the news.
We were watching way too much news.
Yeah.
And we're being filled with things that were ultimately feeding us in a way that wasn't healthy.
Yeah, because it was more or less like, productive. Hey, this happened today. What do you think about it?
Exactly.
And then the other person would share their thoughts and you'd be like, what?
You're wrong. That is dumb. You know what I'm saying?
That's clearly wrong, or that's clearly right. And so that was our first fight. That was our first fight. It was like, how can you not see that this is like wrong? Yeah. And I am so grateful for the journey that we went on in that regard.
Exactly.
Because we came to the conclusion we actually have the same values.
Yeah.
and we're fighting for unity, not for the other person to be right.
Yeah.
And now we've solidified where we stand on our non-negotiables.
Yeah.
And the other person is free to be their own person and have their own thoughts, and that's okay. And it doesn't make them evil. It doesn't make them bad.
Yeah.
It's just, they just have a different strategy to achieve a common goal, and that is okay.
Yeah. And there was like, this is the thing, like, we grew a lot through that process because we ultimately, like, what was exposed was a lot of immaturities that we had. Like, there was a lot of pettiness. I was very petty in moments. I was very, very, very petty. And I want to be honest about the fact that, like, the Lord has had to deal with my pettiness, you know, in areas. There's areas where, like, there would be a certain TV network that my wife would watch, and I would be so mad that because I grew up thinking that this TV network was wrong. But what I ultimately realized, like, through the process of talking with my wife and through the process of looking through her lens, is that it's not bad.
And also, this is supposed to be a short video, but obviously this is an important topic to us.
And we want to be honest with you.
But for me, I grew up in a family where my grandpa was a Democrat, my grandma was a Republican.
Yeah.
And they coexisted fine. And they voted differently. Sometimes they voted differently, sometimes they voted the same. And so, like, I found out very quickly if I ever shared, which I didn't usually share, if I ever shared like my preference in voting, I would immediately get like shamed, like deeply shamed. Like, you are a bad person because you think this way. And I wasn't raised like that. So I just couldn't understand it. And I couldn't understand like why I would be demonized for thinking maybe this strategy could work better than some other strategies.
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, I felt triggered in a lot of instances, and we were just fighting out of pain and fighting out of like, actually I just was raised that way.
Lack of understanding. But like, that's the beauty of being married, is that, you know, none of that has to separate you or take you apart.
Yeah,
forever.
and we also we're anchored on the truth. This is the last thing we're gonna say.
Yeah.
I'm not loyalist to any party.
Yeah.
I'm loyal to Jesus.
Yeah.
And the moment your party takes center stage or you worship it over worshiping Jesus, like, that's a problem for me.
Yeah.
And so we're not so loyal to a political ideology that we're not able to actually maintain what we believe is true and right, is like, have good character, be kind to people, love them, don't cast judgments, you know? And if our party isn't in power, like, I'm still gonna be fine.
Yeah.
My world is not over.
Yeah.
You know, our world, we're fine, we're good. God is good, God is faithful. And we don't put our faith in a party being in power, we put our faith in Jesus. And so we are able to live in peace when our world is clearly going through it. You know, like, I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful for that journey, because I don't know if I would have found that anchoring if we didn't go on that journey together.
Yeah. Well, that was our first fight. Thank you so much for watching this video. We'll see you next time.